Hello everybody and welcome to the December 2025 update from Clydebridge Station. It's also the last update of the year and the last video of the year on this YouTube channel. This month's update will concentrate on little things on the layout. We're going to be making a couple of bins to put on the street scene outside our Union ground, some pedestrian safety railings as well, and we're also going to try and build a flat pack shed. So if you're any good at DIY, which I refer to as destroy it yourself, this might be the edition of Clydebridge Station you've been waiting for. If you've got any comments, queries or suggestions, please leave them in the comments box at the bottom. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon so you can be notified of when new videos will appear on this YouTube channel. At the end of the November update, I mentioned about a plan I had for some points going into platforms 4, 5 and 6 and asked for your thoughts on them. It would have been more helpful if I'd actually included that sequence in the first place. I forgot to put it into the video, so I've reshot the scene and you'll see it in this month's update, and that'll be come up in a couple of minutes. Next year, in 2026, 2 anniversaries take place, one more important than the other. The lesser important of those is that I turn 47. Yes, my age will be the same number as that of my favourite locomotive, the Class 47. So for 1 year I'll be a duff. Although some people may say that I'm already a duff anyway, but hey ho. Also in 2026, it'll be 40 years since the creation of the Network South East brand. You know, the toothpaste livery, the slashes, the red lampposts, the complete rebrand of the London and South East sector of British Rail under the auspices of Chris Green. Because of this, I have this idea of combining the two. And this is how I'm going to do it. At the beginning of each month during 2026, on the Clydebridge Station Facebook page, I'll put up a theme for that month to get some photos from you. Now, it may involve Network South East liveried Class 47s. It may involve non-Network South East Class 47s hauling Network South East trains. It may involve Class 50s in Network South East livery with non-NSC liveried Class 47s. I'll think of something for each month, and all we're going to ask you to do is simply post your pictures matching the theme on the Clydebridge Station Facebook page, and I'll be sharing each month's theme on the Scottish Railway Modellers private Facebook group and the Dean Park Station Facebook group as well, so as many people as possible can actually see it. But you'll need to actually post on the Clydebridge Station Facebook page your photo for theme of the month. There's no prizes involved, it's not a competition, it's not going to end up being a header shot. It's just a bit of fun, because that's what the Model Railways is all about, having fun. And incidentally, the actual instructions that I'm going to give them, the plan, I'll be putting on the Clydebridge Station Facebook page and sharing that onto Dean Park Station and Scottish Railway Modellers, and I may also put it on the MRYCG as well. So that's the 2 anniversaries and that's the plan. So it's time to get underway with the final update of the year. So if you're all ready, all aboard and enjoy the programme. This here is one of the problems I've got in the layout. Obviously there's a hump down there, and what's happening then is that trains are sometimes derailing. I don't know if it's anything I can do, like lift the points up and put extra cork under so the drop is actually around about here. Please let me know in the comments box below. I've got the same problem on the depot as well. But the bigger issue is this one here. As it stands at the moment, if a train was in platform number 5, this is about the area where the locomotive would finish. And if a parcels train comes out of platform 6, it does just pass without touching the locomotive. It's not really prototypical, is it? So there's various options open to me. The first one is do nothing and leave it as it is. Option 2 is to take this curve up and put a half curve in, move this point down here and move this point down here. Number 3 is very similar to number 2, except the curved point would be here and the straight point would be round about here. Number 4 is to install a three-way point. That's the least favoured of the options. And the three-way point would be around about here. But as I say, that's the least favoured of the options. Number 5, there is actually an option number 5 available, and that is to actually put the curved point here and then put the straight point here. Leave it as it is, but it would be in a slightly different position. That's the various options that's open to me regarding this. What one do you think is best? I should add as well that the track, if the layout is moved, the track would be coming over this way. This bit's all coming up anyway, so I can redo it a lot better than what it currently is. Speaking of the problems of the track here, as I film this, I've still got this problem here with the different height of the track there, but I will be taking advice from Jim at Scooney Hobbies and Chris at Scooney Hobbies on that. This is going to have to come up and get replaced because off camera 47406 actually got stuck, believe it or not. I couldn't actually proceed because of the increase in the height of the track. So I've got the wrong track there, but Jim and Chris and Stevie down at Scooney Hobbies will put me right on that. So this track will be coming up here, and new track will be getting installed in here. However, no pun intended, but that's well down the line. That'll be several months down the line because I've obviously got to get get this point work set up here. I'm hoping to do the point work, if I do need to change the layout, in March or April. So quite a few months to think about that. Do let me know what you think in the comments box below, and I'll make a final decision probably in the February or March update, and I'll get back to you on what the plan will be. As I say, it's just little things that I'm going to be doing this month, and a lot of the work will be getting done off camera. What I'm hoping to do, I might not be able to do all of in this update, but we'll see where we go. And for a lot of this stuff, laser cut kit glue from any model shop or likes of Scale Model Scenery. And this is the first item we're going to build. It doesn't need any glue until it's all painted and ready to go. And this is the Lima X-ray 04Z 043 Oscar pedestrian railings with sight gap. One thing, Scale Model Scenery, 16 large and 5 small railings. I count near 5 small and 20 large. Pedestrian railings are a very important part of infrastructure on the road. They're a safety aspect. Now where I live, there's a path down from platform 2 at the railway station, and at the bottom of the path next to the bridge there's one of these installed, and across the road there's a path that takes you from the Greenhill Park past the sheltered housing, and it's got one of these at the end. It's to prevent pedestrians from going out onto the road at a point where they might not be able to see traffic, or to prevent massive crowds from going out. It's really for public protection. But as well as for pedestrians, they also will have a use for motorists. The pathway down from platform 2 at my local station is rather steep. Now you imagine something, say a shopping trolley, one of those bag trolleys, was to get somebody was to fall and that rolled down the hill. It hit the railing and just rest there. It could of course have went out onto the road and a vehicle collided with it, so it has that aspect as well for the motorist. These will actually be going in front of the entrance doors at the Rugby Union ground and on the corner of the pavement as well. They'll need to get sprayed silver, so I'll cut them to the length I need, and then I'll get them sprayed silver, and then they'll get glued onto the layout with the laser cut kit glue. These are the two pieces of fence for the railway station side of Station Road. This small barrier is going to be sitting outside the northern entrance to the station, i.e. where WH Smith and the parcels point is. This one is going to be sitting outside the main ticket office. Again, it's just for crowd control purposes. Same idea. I won't be putting one on the corner of the road where the station side is, for the simple reason I don't think it would look right, but there's plenty of room for the one on the rugby ground side. That's the two sets of pedestrian railings for the railway station side now in place, and you can see the glue is just drying on there. They're glued down with laser cut kit glue, and you can just see them, sorry for the shaky camera, but you can just see them on that side as well. Up next is the two sets of, or the two gates rather, that I'm going to build. One for the motor rail ramp, one for the start of the compound for WH Smith. This here, what I'm going to be doing now, is building the Palisade Gate kit, the LX09200. These are again from Scale Model Scenery, and these will be used in the station concourse. I'm only going to be using one of these small ones, and I'm going to use one of these big ones outside the concourse. The small one will be used for the place where WH Smith will keep its roll cages, and I've got the aim to build up. The big one is going to be used at the motor rail ramp. Now this is a kit you can actually buy in addition to the Scale Model Scenery Palisade fencing kit, LX055 Oscar. So it's very similar, and it'll be getting sprayed white. Now, one little complicating fact for this one is that I don't have a post to stick it on the gate to the fence, so I'm going to actually have to fashion one up here using this one. That'll go with that, and then I'll sort something else, and then I'll be able to sort out the fencing from that. So there's quite a lot stuff here to be going with, so I'll get on it and start making the gate. It'll then get sprayed in silver paint like what I've done with the pedestrian railings, and I'll do the same with this gate too. That's the two gates in position. This is the one from the motor rail ramp. It, like this entrance gate, will always be open. This gate here for the WH Smith compound will remain closed. I used a turnaround grey aerosol spray paint to use this, but any silver paint would do for this sort of job. Should actually add as well that, as usual, I wore goggles and a mask when using it, even though I was doing it outside, and you should do the same. And the cold November day that we've got here, as I film this, actually helped with the drying. I haven't made up the fence to go into this bit here, and there's a good reason for that. That's because later on in the programme I'm going to be building two roll cages from Scale Model Scenery that will sit in here, and then I'll be able to put it in with the bit of fence. It just makes life a lot easier for me, and I'll add a couple of little things to the cages as well, maybe a couple of empty boxes and a crushed box, and possibly even a bundle of newspapers. We'll see as we go. As I say, we're only doing little things this month, and I won't get all of them done. They'll have to get I'll hold over some of that to January, but I'm definitely going to get this finished in this update. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little break from this because I'm going to build a shed. No, not a full size one, a double gauge size one. And it's going to go over in the depot. I'll show you more about that now. Yes folks, we've all been through it, and for some people it's absolutely hateful. Yes, we're going through flat pack hell, and we're going to be building this, the Scale Model Scenery Pent Roof Shed, Lima X-Ray 580 Oscar Oscar. Before I actually get underway with the shed, I must tell you right now that I've been working with W.H. Smith since January 2012. My previous job was with a now defunct DIY company, working in a garden the garden centre that's shop in Glenrothes. And I'm pretty familiar with selling apex and pent roof sheds. Never built one. Now, Dylan Sanderson, when he worked for Scale Model Scenery, built an apex roof shed, and it's well worth going and watching that on the Scale Model Scenery YouTube channel because the construction is slightly similar. During 2025, SMS were actually including these in orders over a certain value free of charge, and I've got 3 of them. The plan is that one of them will get built when I rebuild the exterior of the B&Q DIY store. The second one I've got will be flat packed and put on the racking, and the third one is the one we're going to build now, and that's going to sit in the depot area. I'll initially temporarily position it round by where the water tower is, but in the future I'll probably move it as I rebuild the depot. We shall see. Your kit is laser cut, of course, and you have your sides, roof, back, front, floor. Now, one product suggestion I'm just going to make right now to Scale Model Scenery is you do quite correctly get sheds with windows and a solid side. My model railway shed is actually built with no windows at all for obvious security reasons. So SMS, it might be an idea to introduce similar products like these but have no windows on them at all. Just something to consider for the future. You're going to need something right angled as well, like say an angle bracket or the Scale Model Scenery angle jig to help you out here for building this. And you'll also need, of course, in its wet pot, laser cut kit glue. I should add as well that I won't actually be painting it until it's all fully complete and dried, and I'm going to give it a brown colour. I have some brown paint, not actual timber care, but just an artist brown paint. I'll paint this in eventually. Well, I'm going to get underway and get this built, and then once it's at the complete stage I'll let you see it before I go and paint it. There's the finished shed for you. Now it can only be built one way, with the windows facing that way to the right of the doorway as you look at it from the front. On the Scale Model Scenery instructions, it does actually state that you can have the door open. If you do wish to do so, just read the instructions on there on how to do that. I'll leave it shut, however. I'll let the glue dry, and then I'm going to paint this brown. I should add as well that when I come to build this next year for B&Q, I'm not actually going to paint it. My own experience from working previously in a garden centre was that the sheds weren't actually painted. So I'm going to leave the one that's going in the B&Q store, the garden centre next year, unpainted. And, excuse me, I'm making sure of course that it actually fits. But I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. the glue actually, believe it or not, actually froze in the nozzle. So what I've had to do is actually work it without the nozzle, so just be a bit careful with that, please. Well, I'm going to go and get this painted, and then once it's all painted, it'll dry for a little bit, and then I'll let you see how it looks on the layout. There's the shed in place now. This little bit here in the corner, you can just see how some of the brickwork, I've not made it properly, and I need to try and fill that gap in somehow. That's a job that I'll do in 2026. That's why I haven't glued the shed down nor the water tower. But that's the shed into position. It's been given a coat of brown umber paint, and I can tell you it was from B&M, I believe, and it's Brunel Franklin Artist Acrylic Paint Burnt Umber. Brunel, well, there's an appropriate name for some paint to be used in a model railway layout. And the shed just fits in there nicely. Where it won't fit in nicely is actually on the B&Q garden centre. The built up one, I've checked it and it's not going to fit into the space that I've got. I could in theory move things around, but I've already glued stuff down, so I'm not going to bother doing that. Instead, what I'm going to do is simply leave it as it is and have two that I'll tie up and make into flat packs, or certainly one anyway that I'll tie into a flat pack and put on the garden centre racking. And the other one, the third one, well, that may actually sit somewhere else on the depot. Jim down at Skinny Hobbies has said to me, sheds like this are actually things that you would find at railway depots. So that's the shed in position there. We'll be going back over and doing some little things again at the station area in a little bit. But when I was at the Falkirk Model Railway show, I had to pick up something from the Skinny Hobbies stall, which I'm going to show you, and also bought two things from the Rainbow Railway stall. Now, one of those you're going to see in the January update, but the other one, well, I can show you that right now. Well, there's a very unusual pairing for you. The Scottish Region's General Manager Saloon and a Class 31 locomotive, numbered 31155. We'll start off with the Class 31, and then what I'll do is I'll uncouple it and put the saloon on its own here. The Class 31 is a Hornby product, and it was originally numbered 31296. Class 31s were always rare in Scotland, save for a 7-week period in the late 1950s when D5511 was on loan at Inverness for trials. They were never ever allocated north of the border, and no crews at Scottish depots were ever trained or passed on them. There were always very rare visitors to Scotland, more so on the west than the east. On the east, there were occasional Newcastle to Edinburgh duties and a simple out and back duty, which required a heating crew to operate the train, and therefore Class 31s would often be seen on those trains coming in Edinburgh, Waverley, and sometimes they would then go on to Haymarket. There is actually a photos that somebody had of a Class 31 being refuelled at Haymarket. The heating crew would have had obviously route knowledge and traction knowledge to take the loco to Haymarket. They were much rarer on the west coast, mainly doing freight work, perhaps up to Moss End Yard and back. They were more common on Tyne Yard to Miller Hill workings, which again would have had a heating crew or a tyne yard crew that was trained on these, but they were still quite rare visitors. The locomotive that you see here is 31155. The transfers were supplied by Railtech, and Chris and his dad Jim down at Scooney Hobbies in Kirkcaldy renumbered it from 31296 to 31155. There is one little difference between the real 31155 and this one, and it's something we can't do anything about. And that is that on the real 31155, the headlight was actually centrally positioned. As you can see here, it's below the driver's window. Nothing we can do about that, we'll just have to live with it. So why has it been renumbered 31155? As already mentioned to you, Class 31s were very rare in Scotland. During 1989, for instance, a Class 45 should have been hauling a rail tour from St Pancras to Glasgow, but because it self-combusted about 2 or 3 months before the rail tour, and because the replacement then decided it didn't want to take part and caused its main generator to fail, they're sending Class 45 operation on British Rail. 31430 and 31431 were substituted. Very notable traction, it worked all the way. That was a very rare appearance for them, and another one made it to Ayr and back from Carlisle in 1991. In the rolling stock newsreel section of the September 1991 edition of Motive Power Monthly magazine, under the Class 31 heading, it states, rare visitors to Motherwell were numbers 31155 and 31159, both of which were noted on the depot that morning. It doesn't say why they were there, and we can only speculate. Jim, Chris, Phil and Stevie, all down at Scooney Hobbies, think what it was that parts were getting delivered from either Carlisle or Crewe, and instead of using a 47, 231s were used instead, which means that they must have been operated by a driver from either Crewe or Carlisle to have reached there, one that had traction and route knowledge. That's why this has been renumbered to 31155. It will be restricted to only working the regional railways train from Newcastle to Clydebridge or Leeds to Clydebridge via Carlisle, and coming in here to the depot for refuelling, which is try to keep it real, as it were. Therefore, it would likely be a Newcastle or Carlisle driver that would be taking the train into and out of Clydebridge. Clydebridge crews themselves would not be passed on these machines. Now, the locomotive isn't here at Clydebridge now, and it is running, and you've just seen it come in. And although not in a position at the moment to do a slight running session, I will have this working on the layout at some point during the January update, bringing in a train. The locomotive itself is not quite finished yet. This is a job that I'll do myself, and that is, it needs the Immingham depot crest replaced with those of Crewe, the Cheshire Fox, and I'll be able to obtain them at some point in the near future, along with a cast BR arrow. They'll then be put on, and that will resemble the locomotive in its 1989 onwards condition, because that's when it actually got repainted into the construction livery, 1989. I was showing Jim down at Scooney Hobbies a photo of the Midland Diesel Day in 1989, when special trains ran between Leicester and London St Pancras using diesel haulage, and this was actually photoed in the sidings at Cricklewood. So it was a very good photo. It proved there and then that it had been repainted into construction livery. although it didn't have its headlight then. So this round about late 1989 onwards condition. It's married up to the Bachmann inspection saloon, and that's what we're going to talk about next. The LMS inspection saloon is a Bachmann product, and as the name suggests, it was meant for the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, and its sole purpose was to inspect track work and to take the general manager around. That's why you've got this little area here, which I believe is a kitchen. We'll just put that up there for you. There you go. It's a superbly made model. It has the yellow cabs at both ends, with it being an inspection saloon. It would also have driving controls to allow, if need be, locomotives to push the vehicle, which, like what you just saw there with 31155. The detail on it is very good, and I have to actually say right now, they've actually got it all correctly picked out there down on that point there. So they've done really well with this of Bachmann, with the curtains in place and most of the windows too. It has ScotRail legend on it, and its running number is DM45020, and there's even, I don't know how the camera can pick up, there's a little allocation badge there too, allocation label. The buffers aren't sprung. It's got all the associated pipework and the wipers there, and also the electrification flash on there on the front. So it's actually really well done, that, and it's the same at both ends, I can tell you as well. Looking along the side of the vehicle, the bogies are picked out very well. Remember, these would not be weathered too often. These would be kept extremely clean for the general manager, who would actually expect trains to be clean. So these would be in pristine condition, as you see here. The area where the kitchen is, and I'll just move the camera along a bit. You can see they've got the window picked out correctly in white there. They've also got the colour scheme absolutely correct. One thing they haven't done is here is actually put the words private on, because they weren't actually on these saloons. Another thing about this as well is that, with it being such a short vehicle, it won't have too many seats, and you wouldn't have a lot of people travelling in this. So if you're actually going to think about putting people in, remember, there won't be that many. Looking inside it, and I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but you can actually just see there the detail that's inside that. Two doors, one either side, there and there, and then again it's the same at the other end as well. Bachmann done really well in capturing this vehicle very well, the inspection saloon. And what I would say is that if you are going to run this vehicle in on your layout, remember, very, very rarely would it actually be part of an actual train consist. An intercity one was coupled immediately behind 89001 when it was named Avocet at King's Cross in 1989. And then the dignitaries would have travelled in that with a couple of coaches behind the inspection saloon. So you could run it like that, but it's not something that would happen very often, that it would be part of a passenger train. Any locomotive really could be used in hauling this, and as you saw there, I had the 31 hauling it. Well, that's your Bachmann Inspection Saloon, LMS, in ScotRail livery. If you've got one, why not post it into the Clydebridge Station Facebook page and let everybody see it? Well, this is the area here that we're now going to try and finish. I'll start off by showing you this. This is the LX263 Oscar pallet cages and trolleys. There's a pack of 4 in there. I'm only going to get 2 in there, so at least 2 spare. The 2 that are spare will actually go to the Scotmid supermarket when I come to rebuild the Halford store at some point in the future. But back down here at the station, I'll get 2 cages in there, and then I'll get the fence along there. That'll complete that whole section there. We'll have a look at these pallet cages and trolleys now. I'll open the pack, I'll turn the pack around and show you what you've got. You have the base, and I believe this will be for the top part. 4 wheels, and your 4 sides of the cage. Now, I know about these cages from working in WH Smith myself, and I can tell you that the cages will actually have a top and bottom, and then when we look at it, these 2 pieces here and here will be your top bits, because they'll act as a door or a hook for the door on the cage. And then you've got your 2 side pieces as well. That's how they're done. They're very familiar. I'll build one up, and then I'll let the glue dry and build the second one up. Let the glue dry in that second one, and I'll spray paint the first one silver, and what I'll then do is the base I'll paint black along with the wheels. Now the reason I have to do it that way is if I try to spray these first and then paint the base black and then put it all together, there's a high risk that I'm likely to cause damage, or rather not be able to get them to glue together. So that's why I'm doing that this other way. It's not ideal, but another thing worth mentioning is the underside of the base will be what gets painted black, but see these top sides of the bases on a lot of roll cages, this is particularly the ones that I work with at WH Smith, and I suppose this will also apply to roll cages at say Tesco. The base can be folded up too, and that then allows 3 or 4 cages to be collapsed, as it were, and put into a row, and you're only taking out 1 row of cages rather than taking 4 individual cages out one at a time. Now, I'll go ahead and start getting this built, and then I'll see what it's like at the end. And there it is again, Lima X-ray 263 Oscar. That's the roll cages now in place, the 2 of them. They've been sprayed silver using a silver paint that I got from B&M. I had an awful job getting the wheels on, and I lost 2 of the wheels. I've just left them like that because I'm going to obviously put the fence along here, so you're not actually going to see the wheels and see the cages fully, so the loss of the wheels doesn't really matter in the end. I'll get this bit done here shortly and make the fence up for there, but I was looking for something which I couldn't find, and I ended up finding something else that I didn't realise I still had. What I'm referring to there are lamp posts. I've still got a few lamp posts, so I've got a couple of holes drilled, and I don't know how well the camera picks up. There's one there, and there's one across the road at the rugby ground. So I've got them under the paint spray can, as it were, if that is such a phrase. Now this is the last bit of fence that will go in to complete the WH Smith compound. The fence is a little bit bent when I was actually cutting the surplus part off, but you know, I'm not bothered about that because it actually makes it a bit more realistic in terms of it's maybe been, get it up here for you, it's maybe been damaged by vandals or cages hitting against it in the past. This is the bit that's going to go towards the exterior fence. This will go towards the fence, the gate post. I'll get on and put all the embellishments on it, and then I'll get it sprayed, and I'm using a silver spray once again, same as I used for the roll cages. Once that's done, I'll then get it glued into position, and the next time you see this, it'll be in position, sprayed and painted. That's that scene enhanced a little bit more. That's the lamp post now all in place. 2 litre bins. We've got this storage area here for WH Smith all done. Now, Admittedly that fence is a little bit squint, but you know, I'm not bothered. You can't get the staff these days to install fences, can you? But anyway, that's that done there with a couple of roll cages. Now I could have enhanced that further by putting a couple of boxes in, but I'll just leave it as is. And there's a litter bin there. This scene here can be enhanced a little bit more, and that can be done by a litter bin down here and some pedestrians, not too many, and you'll see that during 2026. Now, in fact, in the January 2026 update, I'll probably add in another litter bin and get the get that sorted. It'll probably just go down here somewhere. However, that scene with the rugby union ground on it has been fully enhanced over this year, and the rugby union ground that you see there now is a lot better than what was there before. Proper billboards, proper roof, proper everything. And the station concourse still not finished yet, but it's certainly on the way to being finished. Well, that's it. That was the December update, except of course for a couple of shout outs. And the first one that I'm going to give a shout out to is Ponders End Model Railway, and these are ones that you'll find here on YouTube. Ponders End Model Railway. There's also Hermitage Road, so if you could go and check that out please. And we've also got a new one. I've never ever mentioned this to you before, and that is Southview TMD. Now, Southview TMD, in his YouTube bio says 3-era based model railway at a fictitious location in Yorkshire. It can be 1980s late British Rail or late 1990s load haul EWS or 2020s DB cargo, and it comprises 4 main running lines, 1 high level line, a mainline station and a small branch line station. Of course, the main TMD the channel takes its name from. There's also Pride Parkway. Jeff there has got a double deck layout. The upper deck is a double gauge layout set on the East Coast Main Line in winter. The lower deck is an N gauge layout set in the summer. So Pride Parkway, if you could check him out please. So that's it. That's the end of Clydebridge Station for 2025. I'll be back in 2026 with 12 layout updates, visits to model railway shows, and these should be Model Rail Scotland in Glasgow, Glenrothes, Cooper's Summer Show and Cooper's Christmas Show, and I may attend the Falkirk show again as well. There'll also be the product reviews if I get any new products in 2026, and if I come up with any modelling ideas to give you an idea for a layout, then I shall share those ideas with you. All that remains for me to do now is to say thank you very much for watching all my videos in 2025, and I'll look forward to your company in 2026. Please, whatever you're doing, do take care of yourselves, won't you? And have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I shall see you next month and indeed next year. Bye bye for now.